franchise on the Fan. Back at it with you guys, 10 p.m. hour. Joining me right now, he's a legend, a broadcasting legend in these parts. A former WFAN, well, not former, but WFAN alumni. Also, used to be a host on MSG, a number of networks in this area. He is the man, the myth, the legend, Bill Daughtry on the other line. Bill, how you doing today? Good to hear from you.
CP, how you doing, man? It's good to be back. I was just sitting here thinking, it's been about 27 years since I've been on this radio station. That's a long time.
Man, that is a long time, Bill. You know what? You know, you and I had a fantastic conversation last year in talking about these Knicks. And the way things are going around this place, I said, I got to pay homage to the OGs because we're losing our way here. And I said, no, I got to bring in the legend Bill Daughtry for this final segment, man. So thanks again for joining us. Definitely appreciate the time.
Well, CP, I appreciate it. And the last time we talked, we were at a golf outing for the Dr. Richard Barnett Foundation. And as fate would have it, on Monday, they are having a fundraiser at the Glass House Tavern in New York City. And I'll be involved in that. We'll have some real New York icons, as in Walt Clyde Frazier, Senator Bill Bradley, and Lawrence Taylor will all be there. We'll have an interesting panel discussion. I don't know if tickets are still available, if it's sold out, but if it isn't, if you call the Glass House Tavern in New York City, they will be able to give you more information. That's on Monday. That's day after tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it.
There you go. And shout out to the Dr. Dick Barnett Foundation doing excellent work for at-risk youth. So looking forward to that as well. And on these Knicks, Bill, 4-4 on the campaign so far. What's been your early impressions of this team?
Well, CP, I'm on record. I wasn't excited about the Knicks coming into this season because to me it's more of the same.
Yeah.
They had an outstanding year last year with 47 wins. They take out a first-round opponent and then go in the second round and lose a tough series to Miami. But I just don't see where this team has improved that much to really get excited about it. And, I mean, you look at what has transpired in the East, three notable transactions. Of course, the Boston Celtics getting Kristaps Porzingis, the Philadelphia 76ers ridding themselves of James Harden, who's off to a flying start with the LA Clippers. And then you look at what Milwaukee did, acquiring Damian Lillard. Yeah, I get it. Dame is out right now. He's missed a couple of games, and Milwaukee got trounced today by Indiana. But again, that was without Damian Lillard, without being at full strength. And when I just look at what these other teams in the conference have done and how I feel about them, and what the heck, if you want to get saucy with it, talk about what Phoenix did refortifying themselves, even though they're off to a slow start this year at 4-5. But there just wasn't that. I'm sorry, but Dante wasn't enough to get me fired up and charged up and ready to go into the 23-24 season.
Yeah, I think that's certainly a fair point, and especially with the teams that you named. I mean, you think about the teams that upgraded this year. I mean, the Boston Celtics, they were an Eastern Conference finalist, 2 years removed from the NBA Finals, and they went in to go get Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday. Look at the Miami Heat. I mean, even though they did not come up with Damian Lillard in those sweepstakes, I mean, this was a team that was just in the NBA Finals. Hey, look at even Denver. You know, Denver, when they saw that the prospect of Bruce Brown leaving that team and being priced out of Denver, they went in, doubled down in the draft, got some extra draft picks, and used that to draft some depth pieces that can help them maintain their contender window. So what you saw was that a lot of the true contenders in the NBA, Phoenix as well, nobody standing pat, nobody resting on their laurels, everybody going to get better. I think the challenge this is for the Knicks is, you know, who is going to be that guy that they could go after or that they should go after that's really going to have a sizable impact like the guys that these other teams are going out to get?
That seems to be the consensus. You heard Charles Barkley on TNT a couple of nights ago. He says, we know how this is going to end. We've seen this movie before. We know how this is going to end. And now you go online, you go to various social media sites, X in particular, people are starting to talk about, okay, the same thing. Who is that addition going to this Knicks team over the top? Is it going to be a big, which is where I think they need to go? Is it going to be a wing player? I can't begin to tell you where they go, who this mystery person will ultimately turn out to be. But I just look at what the Philadelphia 76ers have done sans James Harden. Tyrese Maxey has stepped in and been everything they wanted him to be and more, off to a 7-1 start, leading the Eastern Conference, and everybody thought Boston and Milwaukee were going to be the big dogs, and they ultimately might be that. But in terms of starts, Philadelphia off to a glittering start under circumstances that nobody thought was possible. Now, to be fair about the New York Knicks, 4-4 is where they started last year.
Yeah.
The worst they were last year, they were 3 games under 500 at 10-13. Then they caught fire in December, and that kind of set the tone for where they were going the rest of the way, and a lot of that had to do with the acquisition of Hart. I don't know if there's going to be that kind of acquisition this year, but I'm pretty sure that if there is not, well, the Knicks, I don't think the Knicks are going to be anything to write home to mom about.
And as you mentioned, the wing potential acquisition. Right now, their one true wing is playing well, and that is R.J. Barrett, man. 22 points per game right now for R.J. Barrett, shooting 47% from downtown on 5 attempts, 5.7 attempts. Free throw percentages has improved so far, 87% from the free throw line. Well, what's been your impressions of R.J. Barrett out the gate through these 8 games?
I was a little nervous when he had to miss a couple of games with a sore knee, but he has been what the Knicks have needed. He has improved his three-point shooting. He's a more reliable three-point shooter. He's always been able to get to the basket and lay anybody in this league up. I've always thought that R.J. Barrett was a mismatch waiting to happen for the New York Knicks at the 1, the 2, or the 3, but now he has settled into that wing position. He is that small forward for the New York Knicks now. And he's been one of the things to shout about this year. I'm starting to wonder at what point does Tom Thibodeau actually decide to pull Quentin Grimes out of the starting lineup and put Quickly in to start at point, because what that's gonna do, I think, is get other people involved on offense and make the offense less of a one-trick pony with Jalen Brunson. Outstanding, 45 points and all that, but we know that's not a winning formula for this team going forward.
Yeah, the Grimes situation is certainly interesting because while he is arguably the best perimeter defender on the team, his offense is just not there yet. Seems to be very gun-shy, a little bit tentative, always plays rushed, especially on the offensive end in his decision-making. I want to see Grimes be able to slow that down now in year 3 and come into his own.
Let me ask you a question. Okay, for Grimes to get more shots and to be more involved on the offense in that first unit, you got the 3 bully ball left-handers. Who's giving up the ball for Quentin Grimes?
That's the toughest thing because you have those guys, 3 high-usage players, and, even though RJ's playmaking is coming around, you still need a little bit more, and that's going to be the issue in terms of Grimes is how is he going to get his touches. I do think, though, that quickly running that second unit is really vital to be that engine for that second unit. I love the way they're looking now with you have Quickly, you have DiVincenzo, Hart, R.J. Barrett, and then Isaiah Hartenstein. So you've got all 5 guys who can rebound the ball well, 5 guys who can initiate the break, and that can play make for each other. And then when you have DiVincenzo, you have Quickly as well, that can play in off-ball scenarios and get you some threes. And so I think that's the tricky part with trying to elevate quickly to the starting role is that you kind of take a little bit of that spark out of your bench. But what Tibbs is showing you is that between Quickly and DiVincenzo, he's good to close with those guys. And so even though Grimes is getting those starter minutes, he's not guaranteed to close. Thibodeau's leaning towards Quickly for those moments, and I think DiVincenzo's going to get some minutes there as well.
So how sustainable is it to live off of the second unit in the NBA, especially when you get to playoff time, when those first unit minutes get expanded? Because you make great points about the second unit, and by the way, they also out-rebound the first unit by a big number. But again, how sustainable is it living off your second unit, as Tom Thibodeau is prone to do, as he's doing right now in this early going?
Yeah, it's a fair question, and you certainly don't want to lean on them. I like how the second unit offers a change of pace to what the starters can bring. And another tricky thing with Quickly, I just don't know if they're going to go there. Will they start him given the contract impasse that these two parties are at in terms of his extension? Because now you insert him into the starting role, he's going to want that starter money that he's been after.
He wants starter money now, and that was created by the Hart contract.
Right.
You give a guy that you can put whatever value you want on Hart, but at the end of the day, he's a role player who scores about 7-8 points a game. He's a reliable rebounder. He's a dogged rebounder. He reminds me of a player the Milwaukee Bucks had a couple of generations ago, Greg Smith, who was 6'4", 6'5", and was one of the best power forwards in the NBA, playing on a championship team, although he was a better shooter than Josh Hart. But still in all, he's that kind of player. But now you've kind of skewed things by giving him this $80 million contract, and here you have Quickly, who arguably plays a more important role on this basketball team. So what do you ultimately pay him? But I think at some point, you got to put this pay thing on the side. You've already put it on the side. You are what you are. What is it going to take for you to win? And I think one of those elements for the Knicks to move into another dimension or move to another level is to have him in that starting lineup.
Once again, we're talking to the legend Bill Daughtry, CP the Franchise here on WFAN, 101.9 FM, 660 AM, and on the Odyssey app. And Bill, you mentioned big man earlier as a potential position of need for the Knicks, but right now, their big man is kind of leading the way on both ends of the floor, and that is Mitchell Robinson. What's been your thoughts on Mitch so far through these 8 games?
I mean, again, I feel the same about Mitchell Robinson as I've always felt. When he's on the floor, it's 5-on-4. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that the Knicks do not look for him on offense. Mitchell Robinson, rim protector, I get it. Defender, I get it. Unless he has to go out to the top of the key and pick up somebody, then his defense just totally disappears. And he's a great rebounder. He's a great offensive rebounder, gets his points off of putbacks. But I maintain for this team to go to the next level, they need more out of that position.
Yeah, it's a tricky fit. I still think Mitch brings more. There's more positives to what he brings for this team than negatives. And then especially at the way in which they shoot the ball, because they're not an efficient team. And so his ability to offensive rebound that ball, I mean, he's got 50 offensive rebounds right now. That's more than some teams in the league right now, Bill. So I think his ability to get this team second chance opportunities, that's part of what allowed this team to be the number 3 offense in the league last year. And I think that's what's saving them this year while their offense tries to catch up to where the defense is right now.
I mean, the defense, without question, is among the best in the National Basketball Association. I think points allowed, the Knicks are 5th in the league, but then you flip the script and look at their point differential, which is about 4 points a game, and look at where their offense is 29th overall. And I think it goes back to what Julius Randle said earlier this year. Nothing is easy on offense, and he wasn't just talking about himself.
Yes.
And again, as you get deeper into the season, deeper into the postseason, as there's more at stake, as the rounds go higher and higher, guys ain't missing shots. Shooters start to do what shooters do and make a difference in the league. The offensive rebound stats, they're gaudy, they're great. But again, as you get deeper in the season, as you get to playoff time, guys ain't missing shots as much as they were before, because now there are fewer shots and there are more reliable shots being taken. So that offensive rebound margin that you have, it's still there, but it shrinks just a little bit more. And you have to make up for that in other ways, particularly in how you score the basketball, particularly in finding some easy offense every now and then, which is something that eludes this basketball team.
And you hit the nail on the head there, and that's why I've always questioned whether or not the offense that we saw during the regular season, especially last year, if that was sustainable in the playoffs, because so many things broke right. I mean, you're even seeing it now in their inability to protect the ball. They're much more turnover prone than they were last year. I thought that was a big plus to their offense, but especially in the playoffs, you know, we talk about the offensive rebounding. If you have other teams that are just going to stack the box around Mitchell Robinson and just gang rebound, limiting him on the other side, on the offensive side, they've got to figure out ways to be able to shoot and score the ball efficiently, and that's where Julius Randle comes into play, because his name has come under fire, under scrutiny since this season has started.
Since he's been here.
Yeah, well, yes, absolutely, since he's been here. But I'm just saying specifically this week, right? I mean, this week, it's, you know, the ankle injury is now the reason for his slow start. He's out of rhythm, so on and so forth. I mean, what is it with Julius Randle this year, man? What's your take on it?
To me, he's the same player. He is the same player, and this is no indictment of Julius, but he is what he is. He's a guy who works hard. He's a guy who can come up big for you in certain spots, but he's also a guy who has this bad habit of disappearing when the games mean the most. He's always dribbling into the defense, always finding a way to dribble into the double team. I'm watching this Golden State-Cleveland game. Draymond Green just got ejected, and Cleveland is putting a dent in Golden State. But back to Julius Randle, he is what he is. Here's where people are going to say, "Oh, he's crazy." I was talking about a trade before the season started. Listen to this trade, where the Knicks would have traded with Phoenix, where the Knicks would have gotten DeAndre Ayton. They would have given up Mitchell Robinson and Julius Randle. And they would have given up a couple of those draft picks. Now, what would this have done for the New York Knicks? Well, everybody, Ayton is soft, Ayton is this, Ayton is that. Ayton needed to change the scene, and he's starting to pick up his game in Portland now. He's averaging a double-double. It's early on in the season. Is Portland going to win a championship? Is Portland going to contend? I doubt it. But here on the Knicks, they would have had a viable player at the 5, somebody that would have commanded attention on the offensive end, opened the floor up for some of their distant shooters, made some easier offense for them, and also a solid pick-and-roll player that Ayton is. In Phoenix, he was no longer useful. They were waving him off in the playoffs. No, we don't need you to set that pick. Get out of here. We're going to go one-on-one, talking about KD, Booker, and even to a lesser degree, Chris Paul. They had moved away from him. He's also a decent player at the defensive end. Is he the offensive rebounder that Mitchell Robinson is? No. But he's a much better offensive player, and you would have given balance, in my opinion, to the Knicks offense. This is something that they don't have now. They have 3 bully ball left-handers. And that's not a lot for opposing teams to figure out. It really isn't. And like I said, when you get into the smaller window of playoffs and postseason play, you've got to be more diverse. You've got to present more of a threat. You have to have somebody that you've got to prepare for, and then somebody else after they prepare for that somebody. Am I making sense to you here?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Absolutely, man. And once again, we're talking to the legend Bill Daughtry, CP the Franchise here on WFAN, 101.9 FM and 660 AM, also available on the Odyssey app. Bill, biggest surprise, biggest disappointment in the NBA, early stretch, biggest surprise, biggest disappointment in your opinion?
Orlando is starting to make some noise.
Yeah.
Orlando is starting to make some noise, especially with today's win over Milwaukee. And as I said, Philadelphia, nobody thought that they would get out of the gate winning 7 of 8 with the Harden situation. And then after they trade Harden away, now you got Tyrese Maxey, who is a perfect fit at the point with Joel Embiid to run pick and roll and give nightmares and headaches to opposing defenses.
Yeah, I got to go Philly there. Max, he's here. You know, he is what they're hoping to get once they got Harden out of here. The two-man game between he and Embiid is becoming pretty electric, and now they're at the top of the East. I love the depth pieces that they picked up in the Harden trade.
Yes.
Getting Batum, a plug-and-play glue guy, multiple positional defender, guy that can knock down the three, a great veteran. You brought some toughness.
Covington back also.
You got Covington. You got Marcus Morris. So you got some toughness there with this team. And how about the revelation with the Kelly Oubre? 20 points per game you're getting out of Oubre. And so maybe he's showing that, situation matters. And now he's with a team that's a no-nonsense team. He's got a championship pedigree coach and a team with championship aspirations. Kelly Oubre's giving him a big lift. So I think Philadelphia is definitely up there as one of my surprises for sure.
Systems and opportunities. Systems and opportunities, to me, provide the biggest advantage in the NBA for guys that are struggling. They need to get a change of scene. They need to get into a system that works for them. Kelly Oubre is just that kind of player. Houston also a bit of a surprise, and Oklahoma City off to a good start, just 5-4. But I think both of those young teams, they're going to be interesting to watch because let's see how they develop as the season goes on for both of them. Houston and Oklahoma City, both very entertaining teams in the West. The Brooklyn Nets, I can't say they're a disappointment because I don't think they know what they are yet.
Exactly.
But the Nets, they've got a problem similar to the Knicks. They don't have a lot of variety. There's a lot of sameness in their offensive players, and they don't have a big that you really have to respect on the offensive end. And I think that makes a ton of difference. You look at the teams that are at the top of the division. Philadelphia, Boston, even Indiana, early season surprise that they are running up and down the floor. I think defense is going to catch up to them as the season goes on.
Yep.
But you look at those three teams, all of them have a big. You look at Denver, you look at Minnesota. They have bigs that people have to contend with. I mean, Dallas is Dallas, but I mean, really, they're up to a great start at 7-2. But as the season goes on, it's going to be Luka. It's going to be Kyrie. We know what they both do. Everybody else knows what they both do. And come playoff time, what they do is not what wins.
There you go, man. Well, Bill, I definitely appreciate all the time. Always appreciate our conversation. Super insightful. Once again, let the people know about the Barnett Foundation event that you will be at on Monday. And again, thanks for the time, man.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be at the Glass House Tavern on Monday, November 13th. It's a great luncheon. Lawrence Taylor, Bill Bradley, and Walt Clyde Frazier are all scheduled to be there. We'll have a great panel discussion. There'll be silent auctions and all kinds of marvelous things like that to raise money for the Barnett Foundation, which is an excellent vehicle for serving our underserved kids here in the New York metropolitan area.
Absolutely. Well, Bill, tremendous job there, and thanks again for the time. Enjoy the weekend, and take care.
CP, anytime, brother. Thank you. Go Knicks.
Go Knicks.